Hello and welcome to day 4 of this week's venture through First John. Today it's First John 2:19. This to me is the most interesting verse grammatically in First John. It has a rare, fairly rare form and a fairly rare construction. And I think, again, in my warped and twisted mind, this verse gives us the key to the situation of First John. In fact, I'm sorry, I put a lot of weight on my interpretation of the Johannine letters and gospel based on this verse. This verse, to me, gives us a fundamental insight into what the history of the Johannine community is. Now, I'm probably drawing a lot on Martin Hengel, who wrote a book called The Johannine Question back in the early 90s, I think it was. But anyway, let's dive in. So for those of you who know Little Greek, go ahead and give it a shot. See what you can come up with. Well, here's what I would come up with. From us, they went out. They went out from us, but they were not from us. They went out from us, but they were not from us. In other words, there's been a church split here. That the Johannine community, we don't know exactly how big the Johannine community is, but I'm assuming that the Gospel of John comes out of the Johannine community. I say John because there are early traditions of the Gospel of John coming from a John. Now, interestingly enough, there is an early statement in, is it Dionysius? It's either Dionysius or Demetrius. I think it's Dionysius of Alexandria, who basically says there were two Johns at Ephesus. There was John the son of Zebedee, and there was another John called John the Elder. And what Hengel suggests is that John the Elder may actually have been the author of 1st, 2nd, 3rd John and the Gospel of John. And that fits with me. And the idea then would be that John the son of Zebedee is the author of Revelation, which has a much different style, grammatical Greek style. Now, although there are similarities, there's a little bit, the Revelation is very apocalyptic. The Gospel of John is not at all. Gospel of John has a more what we call realized eschatology. The Spirit is with us now. I'm not saying that the Gospel of John and the Johannine letters don't have eschatological expectations. They do, but it's a different flavor, entirely different flavor than the book of Revelation. And so even the early church, Dionysius, recognized that at least on the surface, on a surface level, it doesn't look like Revelation and the Gospel of John would have had the same author. Now, you can always find a scholar to argue for something. In fact, this is one of the frustrating things about scholars, is that a lot of scholars basically have gone down their education path just so that they can, they would deny it, of course, just so that they can reinforce what they already thought before they started their education. I've been massively changed by my walk through this path of biblical studies education. And so I think that if you're honest, I'm going to go ahead and say it. If you're an honest scholar, you're not going to conclude that the book of Revelation and the Gospel of John were written by the same person. Now, it's possible that the same person stands at the core because the Gospel of John, of course, could have been put into its current form by someone other than the personality that's the main source behind it. Well, I've gotten off a little bit there. But it would seem that there was a church split, and there have been some who have left the Johannine community. And I'm assuming that they are the ones that are largely the target of the rhetoric in 1 John. And this is where we get the idea that they're probably early Gnostics. We're seeing just the beginnings of the Gnostic movement, I would say in the 90s, if that's when these books are being written. The Gnostics, again, believed that the material world was evil. And so this group was just a little bit further than John's group. I think John's group, again, I'm showing you some of my cards. I think John's group was different from Paul's group. The Christology of John is for lack of a better word, again, there's a lot of people who would disagree with this. I would say the Christology of John is a quote unquote higher Christology than most of Paul's letters. And again, people would disagree with that. But the Docetists have an even higher Christology still. Not really. But what I mean is they don't even think that Jesus was human. He is he's a spirit being for many Gnostics. And so there's a split in the Johannine community of these Docetists who believe that Jesus only seemed to be human, from the Greek word dokeo, who have left the Johannine community. And they're the boogeyman, I think, behind 1 John. They went out from us, but they were not truly from us. For if they were from us, if they had truly been from us, they would have remained with us. And so the fact that they had left shows that they were not truly with us. And you know, I'm from the Wesleyan Arminian tradition, but let's again, if I'm going to be honest, the Johannine writings use predestination language. I think I treat it as language. In other words, it's a linguistic. It's a way of talking about the world, not necessarily a metaphysical statement, because we do that, right? We have ways of talking about the world that are simply ways of talking about the world. They don't necessarily mean a metaphysical kind of investment. Well, this is supposed to be a Greek video, so let me go back to the Greek here. But in order that they might be manifested, that they are all not from us. So basically, the fact that they left has demonstrated that they weren't truly a part. Now, this could be interpreted in Calvinist terms very easily. You could say they were not part of the elect, because if they were part of the elect, they would have stayed. The fact that they went demonstrates that they're not part of the elect. You know, I can rework that in Arminian language, you know, that I would say is the essence of what, you know, is the way that the whole of Scripture would imply what's going on here, that these individuals did not choose God, and therefore they did not end up, you know, with the community. The fact that they left shows that they were not truly on God's side. But okay, well, there's some commentary today because this is, I think, an important verse in a number of respects. Well, let's get into the translation a little bit deeper. Again, from us they went out, and I'll parse this on the next page, but they were not from us. Okay, any questions? Post them on Facebook. I mean on YouTube. For if, and for is a post positive, it's a procrastinator, it never comes where it's supposed to. For if from us they were, this is the past tense of ami. It's an imperfect. We call it imperfect indicative of ami. Parsing on the next page. They would have remained. Okay, this is a rare form, and this is a not real common construction. So the form is first of all, it's past tense. I'll talk about the construction on the next page, but basically what we have here is a contrary to fact construction. If this were the if part is false, they did not remain. They were not from us. But it's a hypothetical. So if I were a rich man, yada da 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 da, but I'm not a rich man. You know, I'm doing YouTube videos in hope. You know, I think I get maybe $25 a month from these YouTube videos. So I'm going to keep making videos until I can make $30 a month on them. But I'm not going to be a rich man. If they were from us, but they weren't, they would have remained with us. They didn't remain with us. They weren't from us. And this on is key here. On, if you look it up, it'll say an untranslatable conditional particle. But it does affect the translation. It's like a little black hole. You know, you can't see the black hole because it's black. But you can see that the gravitation around the black hole is affecting stuff. And this is a little contingency bomb. It throws everything up in the air. And so it is used in contrary to fact construction. Basically says, unreality alert, unreality alert, unreality alert, or things are getting iffy here. I'll talk about the parsing of this. If they were from us, they would have remained with us. They didn't. This is meta, which means with, but because the next word began with a vowel, it chopped the alpha off, and then you just had met. And then because the next word begins with a rough breathing mark, rough like the C, then it went breathy, meth. Methamon is easier to say than metahemon, so I mean, we're all lazy, right? Not really. Okay, I am, but you're not. But in order that, purpose clause, they might be manifested also in a subjunctive is coming, subjunctive is coming. So this is subjunctive. In order that they might be manifested that they are not from us. They are all not from us. Okay, so use that the next time you're in a church split. If they'd have been truly from us, they wouldn't have left, or if you're the ones leaving. If they'd have truly been from us, they would have left with us. Anyway, never mind. Okay, of course, I believe John's right. I want to make that very clear. I do believe that the group that left was, as we would say now, a heretical group that had the wrong theology of Jesus. And John has the right theology of Jesus. Okay, so the grammar. I already talked a little bit about grammar. Let's parse this puppy. X is a preposition. So what we're really parsing is eilthon. Now, I've memorized eilth, and you should too, because it's very common in the New Testament. Eilth is the irregular aorist of erchomai. Erchomai means to come or go. There's a lot of coming and going in the New Testament, especially in the Gospels and Acts. So it is worth tucking those three letters away in your mind as the aorist. We call it the second aorist, the irregular aorist of erchomai. Now, so I know it's aorist. On, that new there is a third person plural ending. On, se, amen, eta, on, oreson. So this is a third person plural, active ending. The alpha is indicative. Now, a lot of times in Greek, this would be an omicron. But since all the other aorists have alphas, why can't I have an alpha too? Fine, you can have an alpha. So even though this is an irregular aorist, peer pressure, all the other aorists have alphas. Sometimes this could be an omicron, but in this case, it has succumbed to peer pressure. So that alpha is another clue that this is aorist. So this is aorist active indicative, third plural from ex erchomai. It's just, you say, well, where do all those letters come from? It's irregular. We have them in English too. Go, went. We just have to learn to deal with it. Ason is the imperfect indicative, third plural of ami. So they were. I didn't put voice because it's not active, middle, or passive. It just is. They were. Blah. It's not they did. They were done. They did themselves. It's not active, middle, or passive. So I typically omit the voice when I parse ami. Okay. Now we get to the really juicy grammar. So this is a condition. And we call it a second class. There are 4 classes of conditions in Greek. The first one is it assumes it's true. Uses this word for if. It uses the indicative. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. The second class condition uses this word for if, but it uses a past tense verb in the protasis and the apodosis. And it indicates contrary to fact. And the on, the little bomb that throws everything up in the air, is also a key that basically says this is a contrary to fact condition. This is not true. If they were from us, they would have remained with us, but they were not from us. They did not remain with us. That's a contrary to fact condition. Now, this is a very rare form. I've broken it apart so that we can get a sense of what the bigger they are, the harder they fall. But the heart of the word is meno, which means to remain. I mean, it's kind of, wow, look at all the stuff. Whenever I get here, I always think of the old Star Trek movie, the very first ever Star Trek movie, where you've got Voyager, the Voyager spacecraft that has been surrounded by this incredibly intelligent, computerized being, but it started with just a little Voyager spacecraft. Well, this big spacecraft here started with Meno at its heart, and then some alien being added all this other stuff to it, probably John. But anyway, first letter got a little beside itself. What tense? Perfect. It's the perfect system that does that. The kappa suggests that it's active, so it's the perfect active universe here. Now, these are the key connecting letters. These are there. So basically, this is a pluperfect or a past perfect. So the perfect means it happened and the results have continued. The past perfect means it happened, the results continued, but then they stopped. So let's say someone has been married for 10 years. That would be a perfect tense. I have been married. I got married and I'm still married. Now let's say that someone got married and then was married for 10 years and then got divorced. So you could say, and I hope you never have to say this, I had been married for 10 years when I got divorced. That's a pluperfect tense. It's a sense of something that happened in the past, it continued, and then it ended. And the way you tell pluperfect from perfect, the perfect active is kappa alpha. The pluperfect is going to have either epsilon iota or alpha iota or omicron iota. Those are no. I'm wrong. I'm flipping optative. I'm going optative on you. I'm sorry. The pluperfect is always going to have epsilon iota. Sorry, a little brain fart there. Epsilon iota. The pluperfect will always have epsilon iota. And then this is a third person plural ending. So the parsing is pluperfect. That's the symbol for pluperfect because we already used P for present. Pluperfect active indicative, third plural from meno. And there you have it. For if they were from us, they had remained with us. They would have remained with us. Okay, grammar continued with the last line. But indicates a contrast. Hina introduces a purpose clause. In other words, why did they leave? And again, this is not the way we think, but this is the way in their worldview they thought. They left in order that they might show that they were not from us. That's not the way we think. I mean, Aristotle had a final cause. Why did the flower bloom? In order that it might show that it growed or something grew, something like that. Where you use the end as a cause. We don't think of the result as a cause. We think of the result as a result. Why did they leave? To show that they weren't from us. That's not the way we tend to think about it. But it is a purpose clause. The parsing of this, ace ama eta usi, it's a third plural. The theta tells me it's aorist passive. So it's an aorist passive, and the connecting vowel has been fried, so it's aorist passive subjunctive, third plural from phaneroo. And the hina would have said, subjunctive is coming, so I knew this was going to be subjunctive, or that there was going to be a subjunctive here. Hoti introduces a noun clause. Okay, that's old. Well, I'm sorry, this video has been long, but this is a juicy verse, grammatically and situationally. Okay, and maybe theologically if you're a Calvinist. Okay, so let's go ahead and pronounce the words as we end up today. Pause the recording, see if you can pronounce it. Start the recording, pause the recording, and so forth. So here we go. Ex hemon, exalthon, al uk ason, ex hemon. A gar ex hemon, ason. Memene kesan on meth hemon. Al hina phanerothosin phanerothosin hoti uk asen pontes ex hemon. Okay, now let me see if I can read it at normal speed. Ex hemon exalthon, aluk ason ex hemon. Agar ex hemon ason, memene kesan on methemon. Al hina phanerothosin, hoti uk es asen pontes ex hemon. Okay, didn't do as good a job today with that as I've done other times, but it'll do. And this video is ended, so tomorrow we'll end the week, Lord willing, with 1 John 2:20.